Hello guys, welcome to another Disney Lorcana video. This time we've got our updated Moana Princess combo deck. This is a very, very fun deck. We've got a bunch of new tools for this deck. I'm very excited about this deck. This looks to be an incredibly strong deck once the game officially comes out. And so we're going to be playtesting it. We're going to be keeping an eye on this deck for sure. And this deck has some incredibly fun combos that you can set up. If you like your Disney princesses, this is going to be the deck for you. We got a bunch of fun surprises. And without further ado, let's get into Moana Princess combo. All right, guys, the name of the deck is Moana Princess Combo, so we got to start it off with Moana. Moana is an incredible card, 5 mana inkable. Thank God she's inkable. 5 mana inkable for a 1/6, not an incredibly aggressive stat line, but that's perfect. That's all we need her for. She says, whenever this character quests, you may ready your other princess characters. They cannot quest for the rest of the turn. This is an incredible effect. She also quests for 3 mana for 3 lore on her own, so she really starts putting the pressure on your opponent. Also, notably, she doesn't say they can't ready your other non-Moana princess characters. So if you have 2 Moanas on the board, you can quest with all your princesses, then quest with Moana, then attack with all your princesses, because it doesn't say they can't attack, they can't challenge, they just can't quest, then quest with your other Moana, untapping your first Moana and untapping your line of princesses. And then if you want to, you can keep attacking if you really want to, but I like to keep my princesses untapped because if they're untapped, your opponents can't attack them. And we want to have as many princesses on board. Often, if you have just 1 Moana, that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be questing with your line of princesses, questing with Moana, untapping all your princesses, and then passing the turn there. Maybe you can get some singing in. If you can do some singing and then you can quest Moana and then you untap all your princesses. We are playing a lot of songs because the princesses like singing songs. And this is just, it just makes your deck so hard for your opponent to interact with outside of the Moana, but she's got 6 health. They have to spend like 2 or 3 cards at her. If they're in steel, they have to commit a lot of their cannons, a lot of their smash, a lot of their removal spells that are not even gonna do much damage to her. We've also got a decent amount of healing in the deck to keep her alive, so she's got such a big butt, along with a lot of the princesses have a lot of health on them, so we can keep them alive through a lot of our opponent's attempted removal effects and just keep questing. Also, almost all the princesses quest for 2 lore, so you are not playing a get to 20 lore game, you are playing a get to 10 lore game. You need to quest almost 10 times, basically, and then you win the game, whereas almost every other deck is questing between 15 and 20 times. So the speed in which this deck wins is incredible. And to pair with our Moana, we've got the best card in the game, in my opinion, Just in Time. 3 mana, uninkable, unfortunately, but it says you can play a character with cost 5 or less for free. This card is incredible. There's no limitations on this card. This card will get banned, and we are abusing the ever-loving hell out of it while we still can. So you, on turn 1, maybe you play a card. On turn 2, play a princess. On turn 3, play Just in Time. Play Moana. Your opponent loses the game. It's simply that easy. You think I'm being exaggerating? I'm not. Moana is incredibly hard to get rid of on turn 3, and if you have her that early, she just takes over the game. Your opponent has to have immense amounts of power in their hand in order to beat that opening. And she's not the only incredibly powerful 5 mana princess that we've got in the deck for Just in Time to hit. If it was just Moana, Just in Time wouldn't be that great, but we've got a lot of targets for Just in Time to cheat out onto the board as early as turn 3. And it can even cheat out 4-cost cards. We've got some incredible 4-cost princesses in here as well that we're going to be slamming. Speaking of incredible 5-cost princesses, we've got Aurora. And to go with her, we've got Small Aurora, because Big Aurora is a shift character. Look at Small Aurora first. She's just simple. 2 mana, 2/2, quest for 2. Lots of 2s on that. Love to see those numbers. Early princess to come down. There is, unfortunately, no 1 mana princesses in the game right now, but this is one of our best 2 mana princesses. 2/2, made for 2, amazing stat line. Quest for 2, good to go. Love to see that. Gets us ahead right away. And we've got our Aurora, which shifts 3, which curves perfectly into our Aurora. We do 2 mana Aurora, then shift on our 5 mana Aurora for shift 3, or we do a Just in Time, get the big Aurora down on the board as soon as possible. 3/5, love that health line. 5 is a really big checkpoint for stopping steal from just killing your character. In they have to almost always commit 2 cards if you've got 5 health. With 4 health, they can sometimes, depending on if your attack is low, like a lot of these princesses are, they can still sometimes get there by just putting some damage on one of their challengers and still getting you. But the 5 health, they almost always have to commit 2 characters, especially with the 3 attack there. Very, very nice. She also says, your other characters gain ward, which means your opponents cannot choose them except to challenge. Which means while she's on board, they can't attack your characters with their card effects. They can only attack them in combat. This is incredibly useful in keeping your characters alive through the effect damage that they're going to be doing. Because our main game plan with Moana is to keep our princesses untapped so that your opponents can't challenge them. Now that Aurora's on board, they can't target them either. They are completely unable to interact with your board, and if they can't do that, you're winning the game because all these characters are questing for so much lore, and Moana letting them quest and get ready, keep them safe, keep them untapped, so incredibly strong. Aurora is amazing, and just like 2 Moanas, two Auroras goes even better together because they give the other one ward. Notably, this card does not give itself ward, but if you have two Auroras, now your opponent can't target you at all. I often like to keep my Auroras untapped unless I have Moana on board to untap it, just because she is so incredibly hard to get rid of unless she is tapped, and she just makes your board so incredibly hard to get rid of, even if they are tapped, that she's just so strong to keep up and ready on her own. Next up, for another amazing 5-mana princess, we've got Jasmine. And to go with her, because she's also a ship, we've got Small Jasmine. Going over Small Jasmine first, 3-mana, 3/3, the quest for 2, very inkable, incredible card. Love the 3/3 stat line, gets just over that 2-mana, that 2-power challenger effect, and a lot of the early game 2/2s that'll be kind of crashing into a lot of your princesses in the early game. She's an incredible card. And we've got the new 5-mana Jasmine to go with her. She shifts 3, which is not amazing on the curve, but we'll accept it. She is a 2/5, which is a great stat line, and whenever you play this character and whenever she quests, you may remove up to 2 damage characters from each of your characters. And she quests for 2. This is how we're keeping Moana alive. She just goes crazy. Jasmine heals your whole team for so much. Almost all of your princesses, everything above 2 mana, has more than 2 health, so they're all staying alive. They're all fully healing off of this effect. You can, if you have Jasmine already out on the board, you have maybe some characters with a higher toughness that you want to be doing and you want to shift her out, you can send one of your princesses into attack. Doesn't really matter how much damage they take, because you're going to shift on with Jasmine, heal your team for 2, and then quest with Jasmine, heal your team for 2 again, because since the Small Jasmine was already on the board, when you shift them down, you can immediately use them, and we love to see that. This character just keeps your team alive so well, and since she's inkable, we don't care about seeing multiples of her. She can even heal herself when she does her questing ability, and if you have 2 of these on the board, your team's just unkillable. Unless they can one-shot your team, they're always full health. She's incredible at keeping your princesses alive, which is exactly where we want them, for Moana to go crazy. Next up, we've got one of the best cards in the entire game right now, the 4-mana Rapunzel. This is a legendary card, and oh boy, it does deserve that rarity rating. A 4-mana, 1/5, incredible defensive stat line, goes amazing with our healing strategy. That is inkable, love that. So you even in multiples, even if she's not ideal, she's still great. Quest for 2, just like all of our other princesses, awesome. And when you play this character, remove up to 3 damage from one of your characters. Draw a card for each damage removed this way. This card is crazy. There's another deck that we're going to feature in a little bit that abuses this character to no end, but this card is insane. Any Amber deck, or this is Amber. Any Amber deck that is not playing this card should really think about playing this card. You have to have an incredibly good reason to not play this card in your deck. She is just so strong. The amount of healing, the keeping your board alive that you can do, how aggressive you can get, the amount of card draw that she facilitates. She quests for 2, as even the worst game plan is that she quests for 2 and she's inkable. This card is just so incredible. This is, in my opinion, the best legendary in the game. Also, in my opinion, the best character in the game currently across all the colors. She's just so incredible. I love this Rapunzel so much. Finishing up our princess line, we just got some princesses that are named, just princesses and named, no incredible effects, but still useful for getting that tag out onto the board. We've got our Princess Minnie Mouse, a 2-mana 2/3. She only quests for 1. This is the only princess in our deck, I believe, that quests for 1, but that's okay. She makes up with it with her 3 health line, which works perfectly with our Jasmine, so she can fully heal the Minnie. She's also just acts as another early game princess. Like I said before, there's no 1-mana princesses, and we are a little tight on 2-mana princesses that I find worth playing, and so we're going to be playing the Minnie. Next up, we've got the 4-mana Ariel. She is 4-mana inkable for a 3/4, great stat line, love that. She's one of our more aggressive princesses since she's got the 4 health line, which means that Rapunzel can fully heal her. If your opponent has a 3-power character, you can play your Ariel, they play their thing, you swing your Ariel into their guy, you play your Rapunzel, you fully heal the Ariel, you quest with your Moana, you untap the Ariel, and you are just good to go. You just put out so much pressure by drawing so many cards, untapping the Ariel, keeping her safe, fully healing her, keeping her safe that way. If you've got Aurora on the board, she gains ward, they can't attack her, or they can only attack her, and she's untapped, so they can't do anything, and she just keeps smashing at every turn. Unfortunately, this is a human Ariel, so she cannot sing our songs, which is a little unfortunate, but we've got a decent amount of cards that can still sing our songs, our incredibly powerful songs, which is why she ends up being a little bit more aggressive to help control the board for our opponent on our opponent's board, as well as questing for 2 on the back end once we've done our job. Speaking of singing songs, we've got Cinderella, one of our first singer cards. She is a 4-mana inkable card for 2/5. Again, love that stat line. I'm okay with the low attack on a lot of these characters if they've got the high health, because we are running so many healing cards. And she quests for 2, which is incredibly powerful. Singer 5, this is an ability we haven't really seen on any of these cards before, says this character counts as cost 5 to sing songs. If you're unfamiliar with songs, keep your eyes here. We'll explain that in just a moment. And you can tap her, you can exert her, remove up to 3 damage from chosen princess character. This goes along with our healing. She can also heal her herself, which is incredible because you can quest with her, and then you can get the 2 lore, and then Moana can untap her, and then she can heal Moana. This is not her questing again. This is her using her ability. She goes incredibly powerful with Moana, or she can even heal herself. Say you quest her, say your opponent attacks into her for 3, you untap with her, you just remove the damage. And she does 2 damage back. So if they only have a 3 attacker, they're going to kill themselves. By the time you just do this every turn, they can't stop you. And then once eventually their guys are all dead, you just start questing with her. And she's good. She's crazy. The Cinderella is incredibly powerful. And that Singer 5 is very, very important. We've got some incredibly powerful 5-mana songs that we want to be singing. Speaking of 5-mana songs we want to be singing, we've got Singer Ariel. This is our girl that we know from the songs that is singing all the beautiful songs. We've got 3-mana Inkable, which is incredible. Like we've seen, almost all these cards are Inkable, which is so incredible. You're always hitting your mana. 2-3 stat line's not amazing, but she makes up with her effect by far. She's got Singer 5, so she counts as cost 5 to sing songs. And when you play this character, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a song from among them, put it in your hand, the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. She is our other princess that quests for 1, unfortunately, but that's fine. Most of the time, she's singing. We're just tapping her to sing all of our songs, because since she's Singer 5, and she doesn't have a tap ability that we're trying to abuse on the back end, her stats aren't great, her quest abilities are great, she's got an enter the battlefield, so once she does that, she's done. She is our dedicated person to sing all of our songs. She sings all of our songs with that Singer 5, and speaking of which, we're going to get into our songs now. So we've got part of your world, one of the few uninkable cards in the deck, but that's okay. That's why we're only playing 2. Also, this effect is not amazing, so I don't feel bad playing it at 2. It is a 3-mana song, which means almost all of our princesses in the entire deck can sing it, but characters like Ariel are a little better at it. And you return a character card from your discard to your hand. This is incredible recursion for once they deal with your Moana, or deal with your Aurora, or your Jasmine, or your Rapunzel, or your Cinderella. You just return them back to hand. You just get everything right back to your hand. Unfortunately, with the shift characters, they will both go to graveyard as 2 separate cards, so you do not get the whole shift pile back, which is a little unfortunate, but this is still an incredibly powerful card. By the time that you're casting this, you're getting pretty close to the time that you can just hard cast those shift princesses anyways, so this is a very, very, very useful effect that we like to see. It also works pretty well with this Ariel. You can play this Ariel, and then on the next turn, you sing part of, or on the next turn, you would crash the Ariel in, then you play part of your world, add Ariel back in, play Ariel again, and she'll start digging for more songs on her Enter the Battlefield effect. This is a very useful effect, and one of the reasons why I really do like this card. Next up, to try and actually find our combo pieces, find our Moana, find our big 5-mana princesses, we've got Be Our Guest, a 2-mana song, which means it can be sung by every character in the entire deck, since we have a bunch of 2-character princesses is our lowest cost. It says, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a character card and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck and find your Moana or your big 5-mana princesses. Incredibly useful for our 2-mana princesses to be singing, especially for our Aurora. You can play Aurora on turn 2, then on turn 3, play a card from your hand for ink, have her sing, Be Our Guest, look at the top 4, and find your big Aurora with that effect, hopefully. Then you've got the 3 mana, you can just go ahead and shift right on top of her. It does enter tapped, but this is turn 3. Your opponents are probably not going to be able to kill this Aurora, and then she's going to untap and protect your board for the entire game. This is an incredibly useful combo, and why I like to max out on these cards specifically. And continuing on here with the rest of our songs, we've got 5 Let It Go. We're not playing Elsa in this deck, but oh boy, she's singing her songs on the way into this deck. This card is incredible. This is the only hard removal in the game that is a song. It's also inkable, which is incredible. A lot of songs are not inkable because they are so versatile. You don't want to give them much more versatility, but Let It Go is one of the strongest cards in blue. It says, put chosen character into that player's inkwell, face it down, and exert it. So you just say, oh, you've played a big 5-mana, big 9-mana Maleficent, big 8-mana Mickey that has evasive, so I can't attack it, and it's going to quest for 1 million. Oh, big Aladdin that's going to try eat all my princesses. Oh, it's in your mana now, and I don't care about it because I never have to deal with it ever again, because currently there's no way to get cards out of your inkwell, and it doesn't sound like there's going to be for a while. So Let It Go just instantly and permanently removes the card. There's other cards in the game that will send their characters to the graveyard, but as we've seen, yellow is pretty good at getting their cards back from the graveyard with things like Part of Your World and the small 4-mana Hades. They can get their guys back. There's no way to get something back from Let It Go once it's in your mana. And if they've got a shifted card, both those cards go into their mana. You can't get either one of them back. I don't even care. You do have to keep that in mind, that if you're using Let It Go on a shifted character in a ramp deck, that you are ramping them by a lot. This ability to give your opponent extra ink is potentially worrisome. You do have to keep that in mind depending on the matchup. But if you're into an aggro deck, ink away, baby. Let it go. Get it out of here. Don't want to look at it anymore. Just super free. All of our 5-mana princesses can sing this. Both of our lower Singer 5 princesses can sing it. We have like 12 16 characters in the deck, with the multiples counting in there, to sing this card, which means it's almost always live. Half of them are shift characters, so you can sing this as early as turn 3 or turn 4. Like if you do your 2-mana Aurora, then shift on with your 5-mana Aurora, she can tap this turn because this card is considered to be out on the board already. She can just immediately sing Let It Go. So if for some reason your opponent has done some incredible ramp and is playing something terrifying out on turn 3 or whatever, you just let it go. It's just gone. You don't even care about it anymore. To round out the deck with our last couple cards, we've got our only 1-drop in the deck, Develop Your Brain. You do often want to mulligan for this card. This card is incredibly powerful at like fixing your draws, fixing your early game turns. It's just a 1-mana card. It says look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one into your hand and the other on the bottom of the deck. This is just a useful effect. It's our only 1-mana card, our only turn 1 play. Just lets us filter our deck, make sure that we know what's coming, make sure that we can set up for our Moana, set up for our Aurora, set up for our Jasmine, set up for anything in the entire deck. And to round us out, we've got 3 lanterns here. Didn't want to play a 4th one since we don't curve out very high. We basically top out at 5 mana, and a lot of those characters can shift down, or we can cheat them out with Be Our Guest, or sorry, Just in Time, the Maui spell. And this card just allows us to play characters for 1 less. As you can see, we have like 40 characters in the deck. This deck is a character deck through and through. We're trying to play as many princesses as possible, as often as possible. So having this lantern that can help us exert itself to pay 1 less for the next character we play this turn, just helps us really, really put the pressure on our opponent, play a bunch of princesses down onto the deck, down onto the board as fast as possible, slam that Moana a turn earlier, slam the Aurora, the Jasmine, all the big 5-mana princesses a turn early, and really, really, really put the pressure on our opponent. Everything's questing for 2. They have such limited amounts of time to deal with anything, and even if they do deal with our characters, everything in the deck quests for 2. You just put an Ariel on the board and you threaten to win. You just put a small Jasmine on the board and you threaten to win. It doesn't even matter. This deck is so powerful. I really, really expect this deck to be one of the top meta decks when the game fully comes out. This deck is so flexible in what it can do. It's so powerful in how quickly it wins the game. It's so resilient in all the healing and all the recursion that the deck can have. The speed in which this deck comes out with things like Just in Time, all the shifting princesses, all their incredibly powerful effects. This deck is incredible. Definitely one of the ones to watch if you're going to if you intend on being a top player in Disney's Lorcana, keep an eye on this deck. This might not be the official refined list for what it ends on. This deck is going to see play somewhere. This deck is going to top events. Keep an eye on this deck. And if you want to see other top decks that we expect to be seeing play in the meta, keep your eye here on the channel. We've done a couple decks already, revisions of our previous decks with all the new cards that have been spoiled for Disney Lorcana, and we've got a couple more decks coming up for you guys in the next few videos, so keep your eyes here on the channel. Once we get some packs, when the set officially releases, we'll be doing box openings for you guys. We've got pre-orders in the shop. If you want to call us or order online, you can do that with the links in the description, and keep your eyes here on the channel for a bunch more Disney Lorcana content. And with that, we will see you guys next time. Peace.